Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. So, I have finally completed the Enotria The Last Song demo. This is a pretty meaty demo, if I'm being honest. Um, Enotria The Last Song, I found out about this through HIMediaTV. If you want to watch the first half of the game, if I'm being honest, you can check it out. You can go to, it's more like third. Like, you have your tutorial area, you have your first area, and then there's your second area. There's a boss at the end of each area, and there's 3 bosses in total. The first one can barely be considered a boss. It's the tutorial boss. It's just to make sure that you have paid attention to the tutorial and you control it correctly. The subsequent bosses are, challenging, very much so. Enotria has, or yeah, Enotria has a wonderfully. It is, if Lies of P took the Victorian steampunk aesthetic, or clockwork punk aesthetic. This is very much a medieval fantasy type of, not even medieval, but just like medieval, like it's a medieval setting. You are in what can be best described as Renaissance Italy. You are like in a gorgeous Italian countryside. It's beautiful to look at. You play as the maskless one. So before we get started, let's talk about the good here, because I'm going to have a lot of nitpicks, because this is a demo. It is very much not the final version of the game, and I will have some nitpicks. So I want to talk about what the game's mechanics are that makes it different from other Soulsborne games, and what I like about it. So the first thing I want to note about the mechanics, one, it very much it does two things the two interesting things that I think it does are really, really cool. The first is that it has a loadout system. When I say a loadout system, I mean that you can earmark masks being both your outfits and they also have special effects when you poise break somebody. It's called unraveling them, but for unraveling means poise breaking, unraveling. You can, as well as hot bars, weapons, talismans, etc. All of these can be set in loadouts, and you can have 3 loadouts that you can swap between at any single time. This includes the second thing I want to talk about that I genuinely enjoy about this game, is the abilities. These are abilities that can be found by killing certain enemies, finding chests, finding the world, things of that nature, and instead of something like a Ash of War in Elden Ring, weapon art in Dark Souls, or weapon art again in P, you have 4 that you can set to be whatever you want. This is the system in place of magic. There is not a traditional magic system in this game, but what there is that when you attack an enemy, the lines the lines surrounding the abilities go up, and when they are filled, you're able to use them. And you can use 4 of them by pressing the left trigger and then the corresponding face button of face button. And this is a really, really cool concept. You can swap them out on the fly. You can basically change anything about your different loadouts at any time. It's a very fluid system, and it almost makes me wish that they would add a PvP system to a game like this, or even because with 3 loadout systems, it seems to me like you would have loadouts for fast bosses where you need to be fast, loadouts for bosses where you need to hit hard, loadouts for PvP. and then you can have multiple different kinds of masks you wear with different kinds of abilities that you can use, and then with different types of weapons. All of this is the loadout system here is really, really awesome. It does not. I don't think the demo does it justice. I feel that when the full release of the game, once you are in a new game plus or something or similar, something like the loadout system is going to be significantly more valuable. And I wouldn't be surprised if, with the addition of the loadout system, how generous they are with the upgrade materials. And I don't know if they're keeping this in the main version of the game, but the fact that you can take the things that you have upgraded and refund them. You don't get your souls back. They're called memories, and memories are souls. Souls are memories. Memories are souls. And you don't get your currency back for beating them. But you do get the upgrade materials back. So I found a mace that I really liked using, and then I was kind of just like, I need to choose: do I want to go for attack speed here, or do I want to go for heavy damage? And I'm like, Unga Bunga, Unga Bunga, Unga Bunga, Unga Bunga. I'm a Unga Bunga boy, so I went with the Colossal Sword. One of the things I like about you is that they are also generous with drops. If you kill an enemy 10 times, at least one of those times they're going to drop the weapon that they were using. It's a very, very nice feature. And allows you to have a chance to try multiple different weapons. And if there's only 3 biomes that we're going to be technically 2.5. Technically like 2.5. But if there's gonna be like 3 biomes, with different options and stuff like that, I think that's going to be really, really interesting to see how many types of weapons and stuff we have access to. Also, one thing I want to note, I don't know if this is in the demo, that the upgrade limit goes to 6. I don't know if that's because they don't have higher level upgrade materials yet, or I don't know if the drop rates are going to be different. They're probably going to be different in the fully balanced version of the game. Again, you're only fighting a tutorial boss 1, boss 2, and then you have a little pop-up says, "Thank you for trying the demo." You can still continue to go play, grind out levels. I beat the final boss in the demo at level 25. And I got enough currency from it to level up another 10 levels past that. And there's not really much of a reason for me to play it further. I've beaten the bosses. I've kind of beaten every enemy. I feel like I've opened every chest. So I'm for all intents and purposes, I'm just waiting till September when the game comes out. What else did I like about it? I love the atmosphere. When you walk out of the tutorial cave, you just see a beautiful countryside that is gorgeous, but also when you look closer, it's twisted. It very much does that macabre thing that Soulsborne games do. I will recommend that if you are able to run this on your machine at higher graphics, I would implore you to do so. It is a gorgeous game, and experiences are lost when you lower it down to performance, which I had to do because the game the demo at the very least is a RAM hog, and I will, and that's a bit of a negative thing on my end. I don't know how I like the 3-hour playthrough I did for it is of questionable viewership because of the amount of chugging that my poor computer was having to do to sort of survive, both in a hot room with 16 gigabytes of RAM in this godforsaken game. So we were, God knows we were struggling quite a little bit, especially towards the end there. But I digress. Another thing I want to I like is that the way that they do status effects in this game is really interesting. Genuine. The status effects are both detriments for your opponent, but also have benefits at the same time. So, in the first area, you are encounter this thing, a type of status effect called dizzy. Dizzy is started from is comes from the element viz. It's essentially wine. It's fucking wine. It's all it is. It's people who are loopy on wine and shit. And I will say I didn't necessarily find that much gameplay hindered by it, that like particularly that much. I think it alters your elemental damage on some level. But not but like I went for, again, Unga Bunga build, so that didn't necessarily affect me. The second area you get into, you have I think it's called Malady. I might be wrong, but the enemies here will inflict this status effect, and it's interesting because enemies that are inflicted with it, when they damage you, when you damage enemies with this that inflicted, you heal. It's really cool. So what happens is, but you know, you gain I think it's something along the lines of you gain increased spell absorption or something. I forget what all of the status effects do, but there are contrasts. Like, for example, like one of the later ones that I remember is Glory, I think it's called Gloria, and what it effectively does is you heal over time while you're affected with it. But if anything hits you, you detonate, you explode. So it's very much like, oh, if you're confident you're not gonna get hit, go for it, bro. Another one is basically poison, which means that there is going to be a poison swamp in the full version of the game that is unavoidable. But this poison is interesting because if you get caught with it and you're around enemies, they automatically get caught with it too, and it spreads like an actual plague, and which I think is really cool. I think that combining status effects with having positives and negatives kind of gives you an incentive to spend time with each of them and even build around them. I genuinely liked inflicting the bloodborne effect of like damaging my opponents and getting health back. I liked that a lot, and honestly, I would build an entire build around it, especially since you in the area where you counter this effect a lot, you do get weapons, excuse me, that are able to inflict this malady, which is cool. There's an entire. They also do the Sekiro thing of having skill tree, and in the way that they do level ups with the like you have your normal level ups for your stats, a la Lives of P, but then you also have a separate thing like a P organ, like Lives of P, where you can level up your stuff, and I like this a lot. And let me explain why. You are encouraged to watch events happen in the world. You are encouraged to explore, and you are encouraged to read. And by doing these things, you will collect inspiration points. These inspiration points, by interacting with the world, killing certain enemies for the first time or multiple times, will give you inspiration points that you can then use on the skill tree called the Path of Innovators, I think it's called. And you have the way of going multiple different builds. Now, by the time I was done, I had basically, with the exception of like one half of a skill tree, that I just didn't want to go into that one because it would have negated the effort I put into another one. I had basically 2.5 skill trees completely done at level 25 before I fought the final boss in the demo. It's not the final boss of the game. Was this, what was this overkill? Did they definitely, pace this demo to kind of give you a big enough experience? Are the enemies going to be as difficult and as chewy as they are in this when the base game comes out? I don't think so. I think they probably changed a lot. So I'm very much not being nitpicky on like how how some of these enemies hit really hard, harder than they probably should be at certain levels. How the demo feels very punishing in ways that aren't fun. It doesn't feel like there are times I died where I don't feel like I should have. There's times where it's like I dodged or it clearly dodged and it didn't hit. There's times where like animation bug outs happen. These are all parts of the demo. I don't really like give them flag. I do have some questions about some of their UI design, if I'm being honest. Some of the time trying to skirt over to the skill section, getting to the horizontal ones, this can be difficult just by virtue of having everything surrounded in diamond format. When you're scrolling down through your items in the inventory, and this is probably, I think, one of my biggest pet peeves, is I can't press up and then immediately be shot down to the bottom of the list. That is deeply frustrating, especially when by the time you have like looted most of the map, you have a lot of fucking items and you're looking for a specific one, especially when you don't know what most of them do and you're just looking for the one item that you actually need that you know what it does. Speaking of items and consumables, I will say that the throwables were lukewarm for me. There wasn't really a merchant where you could buy more items. It was more like you find what you find, you use what you use, and you get what you get. There was an item that I really, really enjoyed using called Ambrose. And what it basically did was that similar to the malady that allows you to heal yourself when you hit them, this just adds that effect without any of without you having to put it on an enemy, which is really nice. And there's only about 15 in the demo, and it took me quite a while to sort of get through everything ultimately. And I will say, I wish that they added a merchant to the game because I had run out of that item, and there was, as far as I'm aware, no other way to get more of them as time went on, and that was frustrating, to say the least. Here's my thing. I think that it's obviously not going to be a demo. We didn't even get to see a sort of Firelight Shrine type of area. We didn't get a hub area. We only interacted with one NPC that didn't try to kill us. I do think that all things considered, the demos, they have interesting methods of traversing the world. You have these things called Ambrose Adora bursts or whatever. They're basically it's basically this gold energy that you use. The bonfires that you use are basically the little threads that you tie free of a knot, and now it's just like a swirling thing. It's very much Threads of Fate, You're a Puppet, Control kind of themes. I think that your ability to use this power to both make things appear in the world, and both temporarily, permanently, and semi-permanently, is really, really interesting. I do think that I need to see kind of, none of the items really have item descriptions like that. I mean, a lot of them do, but they're wanting. There is, it's only 2.5 bosses, so there's really not much going on that we can sort of shift through. I will say that, on a non-gameplay note, the atmosphere, aesthetics, and even the music that is played by NPCs that you come from, it's all wonderful. It is. I don't want to talk too much about the different areas because I want you to go play this. But I will say that as far as the bosses are concerned, they do a good job with sort of preparing you for the boss fights. The second boss you fight out of the three is he has the same moveset as a previous enemy you fought with additions. So it's familiar, but there's enough spice thrown in, and he hits a lot harder too. By the way, the second boss is very unique. He has some aspects, some ranged magic stuff that you will have experienced in the previous area in the before him, but there's other aspects where it's just like you've never seen this before. It's very interesting. I do think that there are aspects of it that are a tiny bit janky. Again, this is a free demo. You can go play it. It's 11 gigabytes, and I got, I'd say I spent about 3.5 hours in the first 2 areas, and I spent probably another 4 in the second area. Honestly, for a free demo, I got like roughly 8 hours of enjoyment out of it, and I'm only sad that there's nothing more. Granted, I took my time, scoped out the map, went to every nook and cranny, things of that nature. But it's still a great time in def. If you like Soulsborne, it's definitely a shot. Is there anything else I wanted to touch on? Not without getting into spoiler territory, which I want you to go enjoy it. I will say it does, like Lies of P, kind of like expect you to sort of like parry on some level. It is not as, at least these areas aren't as like parrying isn't as mandatory as it is in a Bloodborne or a Lies of P. Like you're not gonna hit a Black Rabbit Brotherhood or the 3 watch the 3 watchmen, the 3 watchmen of Yarnum or whatever before you burn them. Like where it's just, if you're not parrying, you're suffering. I will say though, if you are playing, dodging is much more viable with lighter weapons and lighter builds. I very much kind of split my stuff into the health stat. Like the stats are interesting because they feed into multiple different things. If you feed into the dexterity stat, you're gonna have stuff that goes into damage. You're gonna have stuff that goes into defense and stuff that goes into stamina. If you go into the health stat, you're gonna get health, but you're also gonna get attack, damage, and you're also going to get defense boosts as well. But like it's a little bit less than if you were expecting it to the stamina stat, because like they're expecting you to be hitting fast and hard, but not able to take much of a hit. I think if you just went straight into health and dumped all of that in there, you absolutely could, just face tank fucking everything. And face tanking is a viable option. The first armor you get off the first boss it does kind of like lend some kind of credence to that. There is an aspect of this that I don't think is explored much in the demo, or I was not able to experience it because I might have missed something. But there are mask fragments that you pick up from defeating enemies, and then these can be crafted hypothetically into other masks. I don't know how. I didn't see if that system was available to me. I don't know. I don't think it probably is not, but it is something that. There's different masks, and I think that the not collectathon, but just like the options for build craft in this are going to be extraordinary. Let me just think. Is there anything else I wanted to touch in the game? Not particularly. I think this is definitely a demo you should go play. It is called Enotria, Enotria, the last song. It is it's a great Souls-like. I was having a ton of fun with it. I was getting that good frustration of dying repeatedly and but not because of cheap deaths. There were a couple cheap ones. I think the hitboxes needed a little bit of work, but all in all, the experience is lovely. Didn't crash once. Bit of a RAM hog. Wish it wasn't as thirsty for RAM, but by and large, the set pieces are beautiful. The environments are beautiful. There's tons of fun little interactions with enemies and NPCs and PC. I definitely think you all should give it a shot, and I rate this a Lies of P out of Bloodborne. Definitely go give it a shot. I think the last thing I did want to say, it definitely the parrying is definitely the way to go. I think, you don't have to do it. It's a pain in the ass to learn how to do it. Pairing in any Souls-like game is a pain in the ass to learn how to do. But obviously, I would not have had anywhere near as good of a time fighting with a colossal sword if I was not pairing properly, especially with the last boss. So, food for thought. Yeah. Also, they have a jump button, so you're jumping. So they added the parrying from Bloodborne. No, they added the parrying from Sekiro / Bloodborne. Probably more like Sekiro because it's not range parrying; it's move parrying. They added the build variety and item variety of Dark Souls, and they added the jump button for Elden Ring. So, a good time all around. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for watching, listening, however you watch / listen to this podcast. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your time. If you want to support the show, please consider doing so at HIMedia.gg/tip. There's $1 a month as a boon for my mental health, and you get exclusive perks such as exclusive videos, early access videos, among other things, all serviced through our Discord channel, which also can be found in the links down below at HIMedia.gg/Discord. Thank you so very much for watching, listening, so on. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.